In this video, I'm going to show you how to place the window regulator assembly, the panel with the regulator and the motor on this Ram 2500. We'll have to take the door panel apart for this, so let's get started. Right behind the door handle, there's going to be a small cap. You're going to have to pry this off, open it up. That will expose a Phillips head screw that you're going to have to remove. Now this trim piece can come off. Now remove the master window switch. Just gently pry it up. It's got 4 clips, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. Once you remove that, underneath you'll find 2 electrical connectors. You're going to have to unplug them both. Push on these tabs and wiggle the connector out. It's going to be hard to do because they don't give you a lot of slack in the wire, so you have to kind of let the wires face towards the inside of the door. Push these through, set this aside. Around the perimeter of the door panel, there will be 4 plastic push clips. They have a T20 head on them, so you'll have to unthread the center, and because they're not actually screws, they're not very tight. So I'm just going to do this by hand. I have unthreaded the center. I'm able to pop it out with a trim tool, and then the rest of the clip comes right out also with a trim tool. Or you could use a small screwdriver, whatever else you have, that will get this out. This is what it ends up looking like, so you have to unscrew the center and push out the outside. There are 6 in total. There's supposed to be 1 on the outside of the door towards the bottom, 2 at the bottom of the door, both of mine are missing, and 2 on the inside of the door towards the A-pillar. I only have 1 over here. Same thing, use that T20 bit, remove the center, pry it all out. At the top of the door, we're going to have to remove the sail panel. Just pry out on it. Sometimes you'll need a trim tool. There we go. Now grab onto the door panel, lift it up, and pull it away. Now let's start disconnecting everything off of this inner door panel. We'll start at the top with the door handle. There's going to be a clip holding the door handle cable in place. You want to pry that out. Of course, try not to break anything, but this does need a little bit of force to get it past its lock. I'm going to use my trim tool to hold on the cable and a pick to pry out on this lock. There we go. Now you can pop this out. And then of course get the white retainer of the cable out of this retainer on the door panel. A little bit to the right you'll have a retainer holding the mirror wire in place. For this one you can use a trim tool and pop it out. Removing the window glass off of the regulator will access 1 mounting point through the speaker hole and another one through here. Just peel this cap off. The speaker is held on with 4 fasteners. In my case, it's 4 Phillips head screws. Now this isn't the truck's original speaker, so whatever fasteners you have holding yours on, remove them. With it removed, you'll see a white connector. Press on the tab and unplug it. Remove the harness. There's a retainer that it sits on right here. And unplug the harness off of this sensor. There we go. Unhook it from this retainer. Now you'll need to reconnect the master window switch so we can operate the window. So I'll put the ignition back in the on position. If your window is all the way down, raise it. If it's all the way up, lower it. Basically, you want to access, like I said, both mounting locations through these openings. Now, to adjust the window correctly, what you want to do is bring it up so that you can see the white clip through this hole and then the other white clip through the speaker hole. That's spot on right there, so I'm going to unplug this. I'll show you in a second exactly what you're supposed to see, but you definitely want to unplug everything now. Shut the ignition off. You don't want this window motor moving the regulator at all while you're working. Now the door control module has several connectors going to it. Depending on your options that the vehicle has, you may have more or less. I'm just going to unplug all of them. Press on the tabs that are on the top of the connectors and wiggle them out. These can only fit in 1 slot, so don't worry about taking note of where they go. The wires will kind of just fall into place as you see, but they do only fit 1 connector. A little bit further down, unhook this harness and unplug the window motor. There's a retainer here for the wiring harness. Pop this up. The best and easiest way to get this window raised up off the regulator is with a flathead screwdriver. What you want to do is push in on these two tabs. So this is what you want to see when it's lined up on the outer portion of the door. You're going to want to lift up on the window while you press these in. Just like that. I'm going to stick a little pry bar in here that'll hold the glass off the regulator, just like that, so it doesn't clip back in, because it will if you just let it go. That way I can do the other side. Same thing on this side. Push on the tabs. Raise up the glass. Watch out for your fingers, because lots of pinch points in here. There we go. Now bring the glass up slowly and carefully. Okay. Take some masking tape or painter's tape and lay it over. This will hold it up while you work. When you do this, make sure your glass is clean, because if it's not, it won't hold. I like to put about 4 pieces of tape on a window this size. This will hold it nice and steady, prevent it from falling. Of course, if it falls, it'll break. Test it, make sure it's going to stay. Now there are a lot of 10mm bolts going around this entire panel. We'll have to remove all of them. The only wire we have left is this one that goes in through the door panel to the door latch, and we can't access that until this peels off a little bit. So let's get all of the 10mm off, then we'll have to reach in and disconnect that before we pull this panel off. Now we'll just have to pry this off. It's stuck in place from the glue that holds it on, or the seal, I should say. Lift up and pry out at the top, and just continue wiggling it until it frees up everywhere. Now you'll notice that on the outside of the door panel, this inner panel, it wants to stay connected to the door. On the inside, you'll find this bracket right here, which will actually is hooked on in the middle with a pin, and these tabs on the side are just to guide it in place. These two hooks right here are stopping this pin from releasing. So what you have to do, I'm going to get a pick in here, try to pick these apart, and hopefully release this. All right, I'm going to tilt this down like that so I can pull it further. There we go. Follow this rod down. This is going to be your lock indicator. I'm going to unhook it from here and pull it out. This will give me a little more slack in the door panel. I'm just going to remove this from the door panel. The inner door handle cable now needs to go through the door, and once it goes through the door, just unhook it. Keep in mind how this cable was routed. And now last thing, following the cable, or the wire I should say, that goes to the door latch, we're going to want to unhook it. Need a pick for that. Unlock the lock, this red hook here, and press on that connector. Disconnect it. Now you'll be able to pull the wire out of this door panel. And there is the inner door panel. Now let's use a T25 torque socket and remove this impact sensor. It's got 2 screws holding it on. Set it aside. Now use a T20 socket and remove the door control module. And remove the module. And last thing is the door handle. At the top here, there's a T25 screw that you have to remove. Once you take that out, the handle itself should come out, but it's still kind of stuck in here. I was hoping I could pry it by hand, but it looks like I need some sort of a tool to gently push up on this and remove the handle. There we go. That popped out. And now let's just put everything back together, starting with the impact sensor at the bottom. Put in those same T25 headed screws. This being an impact sensor, I'm not going to use my impact driver to tighten it up because I don't want the vibrations to damage this. So I'm just going to snug it up by hand with the ratchet. Just give it about 1/8 of a turn after they bottom out. Moving up to the module, reinstall it and put the 2 screws on. Snug them up. Now putting the door handle back, you're going to want to slide it into this lower hook and then basically just the reverse of when we removed it, push it up into this top mounting hole here. At the same time, this spring needs to go right inside this cutout here. There we go. Once that's in, drop the screw down and tighten it up. There we go. Let's bring in the door panel, and I'm going to start by routing the inner door handle cable in the proper position. You want to make sure it goes behind this window regulator, not in front of it or on the back side of it, otherwise the window will pinch it. So bring it in like that. And it's going to have some retainers that it has to hook on it into. You want to make sure it goes into all of those, and you want to make sure it goes through this grommet, comes out the other side. Now take this harness and put the door latch connector through. Also make sure the grommet gets locked in place. This also has to go on the other side of the regulator. And try to plug it in. And I say try because it's pretty difficult to reach. Once it clicks, lock in that red locking tab. And now we have to bring the door panel in such a way that it wants to connect back with this. Okay, that seems to have locked in. That's amazing. So that is resecured. Now get the lock indicator rod through. And once you get it in the door, you're going to want to hook it on to this white retainer. And then lock it in. Now install all 10mm bolts that hold this inner door panel onto the door. Remove the tape off of your window so we can bring it down and connect it to the regulator. I like to do this as soon as I can, that way it is less likely to fall off of the tape. I'm applying pressure on it so it doesn't just slide down by itself. With the window down, close to the regulator, you want to press it until it clicks in position. There we go. If you lift it up, it should want to lift the regulator up with it. It should look the same through the front where you look through the speaker hole. If you find that as you try to put the window down, it gets caught almost like it wants to spring back up, most likely you caught a cable or a wire back there, so take everything back off, inspect thoroughly, and try again before you break anything. Cover this back up. up by the door handle, latch this cable back in. There we go. And up here. Perfect. Resecure this wiring harness, and let's plug in the window motor, and then plug in all of the plugs up at the control module. These can only go into one slot, so you can't really get it mixed up. Bring this harness down and hook this one onto its retainer, and plug it into the impact sensor. Over by the speaker, put the wire through this opening here and secure it on the inside of the speaker hole. Take your speaker and reconnect it. Line it up. Obviously this needs a new speaker, but I'm just going to reinstall what was here before. Okay, make sure that's nice and tight and it doesn't rattle around. Now take the door panel, make sure the wires aren't going to get pinched, and put the lock indicator through. Now you want to have it higher than it would normally sit because it has hooks that go down. So as you press it up against the door, push it down. Give it a couple taps. That should lock it in. Now obviously it's not completely secured, but it should be locked in at this point. Handle works, lock indicator goes smoothly, so at this point we can reconnect everything. Put the sail panel back. Reconnect the master window switch. Drop it back down in the door. Put the inner door handle bezel back on. It's got hooks on the back, so it has to slide backwards and then clip in. And of course the Phillips head screw in the middle. That's going to hold it in place. Cap this off. Perfect. We are now left with the push clips that go all around the door, so whatever you had, reinstall. Once you have it all back together, test everything out to make sure it works, and there you have it. Job is done.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.